Hello and welcome to another video of mine. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Judgment on the PS5. I know this is quite an old game, but I did want to talk about this game because I've never really had an opportunity to play this game when it initially released. Now, before I start off, I just want to quickly mention one important information about this game, and that is the lack of any 4K mode. So unlike a lot of these recent titles on PlayStation 5, where you get a couple of modes where you can play it on a performance mode with 60 FPS or on a 4K mode at 30 FPS, unfortunately, you do not have any such options here. You're just limited to 1440p at 60 FPS, thankfully, on the PlayStation 5. Now, with that said, let's simply get into the game. As all my games or gameplay videos go, I always choose the easiest mode to play these games. Not that I don't play it on any other difficulty, because if I'm replaying a game, I like to turn the notch up and go up to the next difficulty level. But I initially start playing off in the easiest mode that is available. Now, just like any other video of mine, I would also like to give you some information about the game. While this beautiful cutscene is playing in the background, which introduces you to the characters, introduces you to the world, let me give you a little bit of information about what this game's all about. Now, this is an action-adventure video game developed by Ryuga Gotoku Studio, which is very famous because of the Yakuza games or series, and it's published by Sega. In fact, you would find such a lot of branding of Sega all over the Japanese take that they have on the city. So this is a spin-off to the Yakuza series, and it was released initially for the PlayStation 4 in December 2018 in Japan and in June 2019 worldwide. But this was for the last gen consoles. And then what happened was there was a remastered edition or a version of the game which had a little remastered written at the bottom of Judgment. And this was also released in Japan and Asia. And finally, it was released on the PlayStation 5, on Stadia, and even on the Xbox Series X and the Series S in April 2021. So the remastered edition has not been around for a long time. And that's a great thing. In fact, there was a Windows port as well, which was released on the 14th of September 2022. So it's not been around for a long time in terms of PC. And as far as the game goes, now the game's initial development, it started as early as 2015, and it started under the code name of Project Judge. And then you had the game which originated from Sega's desire to create a new IP with Toshihiro Nagoshi serving as the writer of this game. And Nagoshi wanted to write a story with a detective working on a case that contrasted with Nagoshi's previous work in Yakuza. And as a result, the developers designed the game to be accessible to the detective game newcomers. And you have popular singer and actor Takuya Kimura, who provided both the facial features and the Japanese voice acting, and was cast to play Yagami that you see on screen. And it is a very subtle but a very nice introduction to the character, and a very, I would say, effective way of introducing you to the protagonist, Yagami, and what exactly happened with him. So I think the initial few minutes, it does a very effective job of introducing you to Yagami, his problem, and where he's at today, and what led him there. So I think the storytellers did a fantastic job with this introduction screen. And in a span of, say, about 5 minutes or 7 minutes between that, you would be able to understand, what exactly happened to this poor bloke or our protagonist. So the background score is also pretty good, and it's given by a rock band called Alexandros, who produced two songs for the game, which you will probably hear as soon as you start the game up and as soon as you get to hear that title track. However, the title track, it doesn't come up for quite some time. I think it'll take you at least 20 to 25 minutes to get there. Now, basically, this game is a pretty narrative driven game. So you have a lot of cutscenes. Like even the first 20 minutes that you would see in this video, you would notice that a lot of it has actually gone into the cutscenes, and you do have a fair bit of gameplay as well in the first 20 or 25 minutes. But if you are not fond of games which are cutscene heavy, then hey, number one, this is not for you, maybe. Number two, the good part is that you can skip them, but you would obviously lose all the storytelling elements of this particular game. And I think personally that if you are wanting to pick this game up, then one of the key reasons should be the story, because I think they do a very good job. I've already told you how effectively, they've told the whole story of Yagami in the first 5 to 7 minutes. So I think they do a fantastic job. And there is a mystery element as well. The opening introduces you to this murderer, but then later on in the game, you will get to find out as to what exactly happened with this bloke. Why did he kill? And is he really guilty? Is he like a serial killer or something like that? Or were there other circumstances which ultimately led to him murdering this girl? And that's what's so interesting about the story. So the story bit is really one of those key reasons as to why you should pick it up. And I think the developers have done a fantastic job. The storytellers have done a fantastic job with the story bit. Now, once you get introduced to all these characters, once you understand the story, yes, there is the gameplay element bit as well. And as you can see, the transitions between the cutscenes or the gameplay, it's seamless. And as far as how the game looks, I think it really portrays Japan really well. The city is pretty colorful here. You have a lot of shops which have been inspired by real world shops, it seems. And you would find Tokyo at its best in terms of the lighting, in terms of the crowd, etc. It's densely populated, is what I would say. And I personally love games which have a lot of crowd, like a lot of NPCs on the side. And even the NPCs, I don't know if you would notice in this gameplay video, I don't know if it's really picked that up in the first 20 to 25 minutes, but the NPCs also, they talk, they have things, that they have on their mind. So it's pretty interesting. It's a very lively world, I would say. And I'm a big fan of that because one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, I would say number maybe 2 or 3 would be Assassin's Creed Unity, simply because of how densely populated that world is and how alive the whole, Paris feels like. So here you would kind of have a similar experience with Japan, and you have a lot to do in this city, and you have a lot of interactions like this one, where you would bump into a bunch of goons who are just going to be bullying you. And well, they had it coming, you could say, because they're gonna get their faces bashed by our protagonist here in this scene. But take a look at the game and take a look at how pretty it looks. And the 60 FPS really, really makes the game shine, because I think uh, it looks completely different in 30 FPS. Over a period of time, I have started appreciating games running at 60 FPS more than the 4K mode, because earlier I was a big fan of 4K, and I used to say that, okay, I'm all right with a game which has like 4K 30 FPS. And generally, for a narrative driven game, I would exactly say that, I mean, it's okay. 4K 30 should be good. But hey, you're number one, you don't have that option. And number two, the 60 FPS is really good. The only complaint that I have about this game visually is that when it comes to certain elements, especially the hair, for instance, it has that anti-aliasing issue where you have that shimmering edges. So it may look a little bit weird, because otherwise the game looks brilliant. From all the assets that you see here, like cars, the NPCs, the background, the billboards, it's very colorful. So apart from that anti-aliasing bit where you have that shimmering kind of an effect, everything else looks brilliant. Now the action or the gameplay itself, there are a lot of particle effects, and what's nice or interesting is the fact that your protagonist does not have any superpowers, but it kind of makes you feel like you have superpowers. So that's what it does with all these particle effects. And I would say that the action is real time, the action is pretty dynamic. you have a few buttons that you can mash, and there's that typical press a few buttons to evade, press a few buttons to block, and then you have a button for sprinting as well, because you will have to kind of follow or chase people, and you have to take them down. So your regular bit in terms of how this game functions. But I would say this, I've played Yakuza Like a Dragon before playing this game. I didn't complete that. I played it for some time. But overall, the first, you could say 45 minutes or so, I enjoyed Judgment more than Yakuza Like a Dragon, because I think the story was really compelling. And the character also, the protagonist, is a far better protagonist because you feel for him. And I really like stories which make you feel for the protagonists, like Arno from Assassin's Creed, or Cassandra from Odyssey, or even if you take up Valhalla, for instance, all right, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that is, or Kratos from God of War. So if you feel for the protagonist, that is incentive number one, anyways, for you to play the game. Because sometimes narrative-driven games can be a little heavy, and unless the protagonist and the story around him or her is not interesting, you would not really be motivated to proceed further or even take a look at these cutscenes. Sometimes you may just want to skip it. So the entire reason why the developers made these cutscenes was for you to enjoy it. But again, if there is a weak protagonist, then you may just want to skip it. And if these storytelling cutscenes have not been done well, then you may just want to skip it, thereby just wasting the developers' efforts. I was talking about Sega, right? I mean, look at it. It's all over the city. So there's some heavy branding going on. Brand placement is absolutely top notch in this particular game. So here we are already 10 past minutes, and as you can see, the gameplay is pretty interesting. You will get to interact with one more buddy of yours who's like this ex-Yakuza, and what you have to do ultimately is just move around the city. There are going to be various maps. There are going to be points, and uh, let's just pull the map up. For instance, here, the pink light blinking, that's where you have to go, but I'm just showing you around the map. So what you can also do is place like a pin or a marker where you need to go in terms of your objective. So that's pretty good. I kind of like that. And even though there is no HUD giving you details about where you need to go, I mean, there's a small little mini map, you could say, here. So you don't have a compass, but you do have a mini map. And I appreciate, that in a game, because just a few days back, I was talking about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I was just kind of sharing my opinion as to what I found was really, really distracting in that game, and that was the lack of a mini map. Here, once you have set the marker or the pin, you have a mini map, and that becomes so easy for you to navigate across the city. Because the map is, I wouldn't exactly call it very big, because this is not really an open world game like Assassin's Creed. Because in Assassin's Creed, whatever you can see is what you can access, basically. So if you've seen like this cliff or a mountain at the far off distance, you can actually get there. But in this particular game, the maps are limited. In fact, some areas are cordoned off and you can't access those areas until later. So the map keeps expanding as you keep progressing through the game, and it becomes bigger and bigger. But I wouldn't exactly call it an open world game. It does have this open world feel, but at the end of the day, it's still linear. So the good thing is, when you're playing this on the simple mode, or when you're playing this game initially, you do get these tutorials that you get to read, and it kind of helps. But even if you don't read them, you have this small little box right at the bottom which tells you what to do. So that's pretty helpful. In terms of the UI, the whole navigation of how you would kind of understand the game, I think the developers have done a fantastic job, because even if you are not the kind of person who likes reading a lot of text, you have right at the bottom more like subtitles, suggestions as to what you need to do. So you're pretty good. You're sorted when it comes to that. And overall, I really like the whole detective thingy a lot as well. In fact, you can tail a person here, like you have this element as well. So it's not just all about action. It's also about you getting to find out what other people are up to. And later on, there are other elements as well. This game also has mini games, by the way, which you would come across later on in the game. And overall, as you can see, it's fantastic to look at. So as far as other gameplay aspects go, well, you can even buy items to restore your health, and you can buy other items as well, like in stores. And if you have like a major wound or anything like that, then you can heal yourself, and you can meet a doctor who treats people in secret. The doctor can treat you as well. So as far as the combat goes, I think the combat is pretty similar to that of Yakuza 0. There are two fighting styles, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that, but a little later on, maybe not in this gameplay video, but a little later on, you would also come across a couple of fighting styles. Like there's a crane style, which focuses on fighting groups of enemies. And then there is a tiger style as well, which focuses on fighting individuals. So there's that dynamic as well. And then you anyways have this tailing bit. You have parkour elements as well, like you can walk across or run across walls. You can leapfrog. So there's quite a lot in terms of the gameplay. And plus, you can even enter a rage form where you become stronger in battle. And you can even team up with allies to perform certain powerful combination attacks. So in terms of the gameplay, you have a lot going. And then you have the investigation mode as well, where the player must search for clues in a scene and the evidence of the crime that took place. You can infiltrate areas by lockpicking. You can use disguises to gather information. Like even in the cutscene earlier, you saw that he was using a disguise. He was disguised as a beggar on the road. So you have so many things that you can do. So variety is really there. And you even have not just the main story, but a lot of side cases in addition to the main storyline. What Yakuza games calls sub stories. So you can just undertake them by looking at the notice board in your office, and that's how it basically works. So there's a lot that's going for you in this particular game, and I really enjoyed this, I would say, and I was surprised. I didn't pick this up initially, and that was kind of a bummer, I would say, but I do intend to play this a little more because this world to me is comparatively better than Yakuza. That's how much I like this game. So if you're somebody who has never played any of the games from the Yakuza series or from any of the games from the Ryuga Gotoku studio, then I think it's the perfect game for you to pick up. It introduces you to the world. It introduces you to gameplay mechanics or dynamics of this whole universe, the Yakuza universe. And it introduces you to some pretty interesting characters as well. The gameplay is really there, 1440p, 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5. The visuals are there, except for that shimmering effect that I've spoken about. And overall, the story, again, is one of the key aspects as to why you need to pick this game up and play. The good part is that this is now available on PlayStation Plus. So if you have access to PlayStation Plus, you don't even have to pay anything extra. You can just download it, like it, play it a lot more. If you don't like it, just delete it. So that's my 2 cents on Judgment. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you download this game and enjoy this as much as I have. That's it for this video, folks. If you liked the content, then I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit that like and subscribe button and also that bell icon in case you want to get notified with all my latest videos. Now, I do make videos like this on various games, and you can check them all on my channel and even support my channel by clicking on that like and subscribe button. But as far as this game goes or this video goes, well, I would say it's a wrap for this one, and I'll see you lovely folks in my next video. Until that time, I'll say take care, stay safe, happy gaming folks, and may God bless you all.